Welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Liu, along with my co-host Otto Los and Paula Ewell, who is the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Services for the Aging. Otto, of course, is friend, volunteer, PI ambassador, joins us every week, just has the best questions, by far. Our first guest, if you have missed it, we had on Kai Sue from Cornell Cooperative Extension, Nassau County, who is our go-to guru on all things nutrition. And I just think she comes in with such wonderful golden nuggets. And I hope all of our listeners, will take something, that we taught, because that's how we opened the segment was, just take one thing and set that goal for you. And I like that because it's attainable.
You know what's interesting about her? She has absolutely no notes. We have a
lot
of people.
So I was thinking the same.
She's got her notes are up there.
Otto, I thought the same thing, and I'm going to tell Kai that when I get back.
I'm not knocking other people. I'd be with them.
Right, I'm a note.
Right, I come in with a PowerPoint thing ready. And,
right.
Rattles these things
just
off.
So sweet. Each person that asked a question, she said, "That's an excellent question."
She is.
Like you felt like, oh, good for me. I asked a good question.
But there was really a lot of
great information,
jam-packed golden nuggets. I mean, I have papers all in front of me that I need to make clear when I get back to the office, because I think there were a lot of wonderful tips.
And should write a book on golden nuggets.
I have a book. Which I wish if I ever have some downtime, I could actually sit and go through, because I keep all like my jotted notes in my golden nuggets.
I heard a golden nugget.
Oh,
keep your eye on the donut, not the hole.
I like that. I like that one. There you go. That's a good one. I like that. But yes, if anyone missed our first segment, you could certainly watch us on the WCWP YouTube, on the Project Independence website, and of course you could watch us on the North Hempstead TV channel, channel 18 or 65 on Optimum, or channel 46 on Verizon Fios, and of course on North Shore TV. You could check all those things out, because it's such great information, and it's wonderful information. I love having her on for like any age, because I have to say, when I am in the supermarket, I wasn't kidding when these things are actually in my brain. And I was going to laugh because I was going to bring it up with her. I've never looked at a nutrition label more until I had a dog. Okay. I have to
people,
say, no, for real.
It didn't matter.
It really, and I wanted to laugh. That's all I kept thinking about, because the first thing I do, me and Jay, anytime we see anything in the store, I pick it up and I look at the nutrition label and the ingredients label and make sure that, the top 3 ingredients, are like things that I can pronounce, and are healthy. And I was laughing because I have to say, doing that, secondary, got me more into the swing of things for my own self. But, Easy is out there having the best ingredients and everything in his treats and meals. But
are you up for hearing about a scam?
I am up for hearing about a scam.
Yeah.
Bringing and coming hot there,
I
Otto.
just read this one. It's the Saginaw Police Department. All right.
Okay.
And this sounded really dangerous.
Okay.
All right. What happens is you get something mailed to your home.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a speaker for your system, whatever.
Okay.
A gift.
Oh,
right?
gift. Okay, tangible gift. Okay.
And it's delivered to your home, but it doesn't say on there who it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't order it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know now what to do. And there's no address on there as to who sent it. All right. So what is in there, though, is a QR code that it says you can scan and you find out where this gift came from.
Oh, so when
you scan the QR code, it takes everything on your phone.
Oh my gosh.
And takes it away from your phone.
Yeah.
To me,
that's why we
that is
I
one
haven't
of the
heard
most
that one.
deadly scams I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we had on last year, I should have just, in the last segment of 2024, we had on Manda Cristal, who talked about, scams, and she was and that was something that we had loosely brought up with her, was this QR thing.
Brushing.
Because, we're in a time, that, which is beneficial. And I love a QR code. I love on the TV, if I'm trying to log in,
and
you just scan
becoming a dangerous weapon.
But it really can be, because, and unless and Amanda said, unless you really know the source of what you're scanning, You can't just walk in, oh, this
You
poster,
see a
because some
ad
people
on the
stick, right,
wall.
they put a sticker of the QR code on anything, like, so you need to really, think before you just scan anything away, because it seems like a frivolous
Yeah.
thing. But it could, now you're giving access of everything that's
Well,
on
and,
your
and
phone
in
to
this
this.
case, oh, you got this thing, and you
Yeah,
really want to know
right,
who
of
sent it to
course.
you.
Yeah.
So what they're saying basically is keep the gift, throw the gift away, do not scan
Mhm.
the QR
Yeah.
code, no matter
We
what.
should bring that up at the advisory,
Yeah.
Otto.
No,
We
it's a
should
good.
bring that up at the
I think this
advisory.
one is
Really. Yeah.
dead.
No,
to me.
because
Yeah.
especially because QR codes are becoming more of a thing.
Yeah,
In the
absolutely.
you're coming into contact more often. I mean, even North Hempstead, we use the community service use the QR codes to log you to different events and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, it's something that people are certainly more familiar
Yeah.
with now, and I think that you really need to. Unfortunately, when something becomes popular, it brings out the scammers who
I just
Yeah.
started
hone in on
learning a
that.
couple of months ago how to really use the
Yeah,
QR
yeah,
codes.
yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, I'm
Well,
just
good.
not
You're gonna
comfortable
save
with
yourself
it.
from
Yeah.
Yeah, I
from
don't
that.
You know
like
what?
it
Like when
either.
you go to a restaurant and they just say use the QR code. Like
Yeah.
I like to read.
Well, you know what?
all
That
the
Yeah.
it
ingredients.
also
I like to
became a
see.
thing during COVID,
Right.
because
No,
of touching
that
the
I
menus,
understood. Yeah.
and but then it
But
stuck.
now
But
it's
I agree with
kinda
you.
like,
Then it's
no
certainly
menu.
stuck. Yeah.
I
I
take
was
out my
at
glasses.
Yeah, I know.
Find the, you
Well, I
know.
was at a football game, the Jets, I think it was. And one of the things is, what's your favorite song?
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4. And from far away, the
Yeah.
way you registered your vote was
through
there
a
was a
QR.
QR code up on the screen
Yeah.
way out there somewhere.
Wow. Yeah.
And you go like this and you registered your vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that's dangerous too, because
Yeah.
God knows, man.
Yeah.
No,
You
and
don't
it's
know.
unfortunate because with these scams, and that's what I was saying before, once it has a lot of benefits, right? It's like anything with technology. Like, it's great because it can connect you to a whole host of information, and
Yeah.
and it's a quick way. We were even using it for my friend's wedding. She had the QR code to like get you in to see all the different, like, so it was great. But with that, comes people who are trying to prey and take advantage of it.
Well,
So
and
it's
then the
something
other
to.
one is AI, artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard them talking about the Academy Awards now there's a big thing in there that some of the films that you see, the people's voices for singing and whatnot were not really their voice. It was done through AI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're saying, should they be
Right, getting
eligible
award,
for an
awards,
Academy
right.
Award?
It's
And then
tough.
the other things that
Yeah.
happened in the show where this artificial intelligence
Yeah.
enhanced something, and they're saying,
That's-
that maybe they shouldn't be eligible for
Yeah.
Yeah.
an Oscar.
Yeah, it's
you
it's
know,
a tough.
Um,
It's a newer, and I think it's still so new in its existence of things that I'm curious to see how it will
And
play
I
out,
got
because
one-
there are some things that I
Yeah.
see that I'm like,
Whoa.
wow,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
could
How would
really
you
like
do
that looked
Yeah.
real.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Well, I've been trying to learn a little bit about it, and I
Mhm.
got this one thing here that simplified it.
okay.
It says that artificial intelligence is two things.
Mhm.
One, it's deep learning, where it mimics the brain and it generates information.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is where it generates new things.
Mhm.
So it generates
Yeah.
pictures, movies, whatever,
Right.
from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's either you're taking a lot of information and massaging it,
Yeah.
or you're creating a whole new
Brand new.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's certainly, and it's
It's
only going to
here.
get more and more
It's
advanced
here,
as it
yeah.
learns things. So it's
Well, I mean, it's out of my
Yeah.
pay range.
He's not ready
Yeah.
to dive
Yeah.
into
mean,
that.
back
But the
in the-
first one I think is so relevant because if you mail
Oh, yeah.
something and say you're alone or you're not used to getting packages and things and you get something,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, isn't
It's
it like,
exciting,
isn't
of
this
course.
I
wonderful?
got a gift.
Somebody sent
Right,
me
yeah,
something,
yeah.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
And
that's
It's
nowadays-
hard.
I've never
It's-
heard
yeah.
that one. That's
And nowadays, we probably have more on here than we should.
Yeah.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah.
certainly something that, and that's
Now,
why.
here's another one
Oh,
for you.
he's got
Yeah.
another one.
My
Oh,
brain
he just
isn't
came
working.
in. Look at him. He just came in.
Right.
Really lost
The
up.
fires in California.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think about
awful.
what those people have to go through if they
Oh,
had
my
to get
God.
out
Mhm.
and they didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
You're out in the street, your car just burnt down, your house is burnt down,
Yeah.
and you have nothing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You are cold, nothing.
Right.
You wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right.
You don't know anything you don't have your memory for your insurance company,
Right.
your title for your house,
Right.
death certificates for people,
Yeah.
nothing.
Mhm.
All right. So what that got me going with is I got a safe bag
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a
Mhm.
safe,
Mhm.
a fireproof,
Yep.
waterproof
That's great.
bag,
That's great.
and I put all
All
the
the
that in
important
there.
doc.
key papers into
That's the
that
Yeah.
number one
Right,
thing to
thing
do.
to- yeah.
Any
So
because
if I
I've
have to
yeah, you can
evacuate,
grab it.
Quickly. Yep.
I'm
Yes.
getting that bag and I'm
Yeah.
getting the hell out of there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And Otto and I shared this, last week when we were
Yeah,
talking
right. But
about
this time I actually did it.
Yeah,
I'm now
see, you actually
Yeah.
did. He did
I
his homework.
ordered it and I did it and I
Good.
got
Great.
all the papers in
No,
there.
and that's
a great
any
idea.
preparedness training that I've ever been to. That's like the number one thing, right? Is to have all those documents together and in a fire safe, kind of situation.
And extra medication.
And this
And
we
prescriptions, yeah.
shared last week, and I
Yeah.
will share it again because this I saw on social media when they were talking about the fires, and it was the emergency evacuation checklist. Grab the 6 P's: people and pets, papers, phone numbers, and important documents. That's number 2. 3, prescriptions, vitamins, and eyeglasses. Number 4, pictures and irreplaceable memorabilia. 5, personal computer, hard drive, and disk. And Otto said if you have it all together, you could actually have the pictures on the disk, then you don't have to worry about the hard copies.
I actually,
And then
Yeah.
6, plastic, which is credit card, debit cards, and cash. So I think that that's a really
Yeah.
I love that because it's like something easy to
Yeah.
remember because when you're in those situations, I saw so many people talking about that they just didn't even know where to begin,
Right.
or what to
And
do.
you're
And
in full
and I
panic.
think
You're in
for
full
and I
Well,
think for
I
all of
ex-
us who didn't experience it,
Yeah.
gave us some time to actually, I don't know, we're talking about like to reflect, like, oh my God, what would I take,
Right.
And I think it's just part of like the preparedness realm of things that we should all kind of, God forbid we never have to
I
utilize
expanded
it.
that list
Yeah.
by quite a bit. Hearing aids,
Yeah.
Mhm.
glasses if
Yeah.
you have a
Mhm.
problem seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all
Uh,
part of like your prescription kind of stuff.
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, but
credit
putting them in
cards.
that
Yeah.
kind of bag that
Yeah.
Otto said
Mhm.
is really the key.
Well,
Because
I had a
walking
safe.
around trying to find. If
Yeah.
I had to find all those items, I
Yeah.
don't know how long it would just.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I went
Yeah,
home
you want to
today,
have them all in one place
Yeah.
so you can.
I have a vague idea where they
Yeah.
all.
Well,
But
I actually had a small safe and I had
yeah,
it in there,
we
but
have that, but not
it's heavy.
in that fireproof bag.
So
yeah,
now I got to
Yeah.
schlep this thing around
yeah,
while
yeah.
I'm trying to
Which
get
I get out,
You know,
right?
Yeah. No, it's really true.
So
and in
sad.
that bag you can put your laptop.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
wide enough that you can put your
Yeah.
papers on the laptop.
Yeah,
And now the next one I'm thinking about is, well, you talked about key memorabilia, pictures, whatever. You really don't. I mean, if you have to leave the house, you don't have time to mess with that.
I know.
Yeah.
You kind of do that when you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
nice leisurely,
Right.
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
but that's why it's
I
important.
mean,
These things
it's
to
For
like
people, it's just-
insurance that you hope you never need.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Exactly.
it doesn't hurt to have it all in one place anyhow.
No matter
Yeah,
what.
it's just
Yeah.
right. It's just an organ, and just for like not even because I think about that too. We, my husband and I did that a long time ago. We put everything in like the important documents, and just for not even an emergency situation, just for like
You know
life.
where they are. Right.
Right, like it comes up, and you don't have to because what made us do that is I was a little more organized than he was, but I won't shame him on the show. And his parent, when we first got married, he was like, I don't even know where my birth certificate is, or
right.
I think my mom has it. I don't know.
Right.
And that's something you hear all too often. And I remember from that moment, I was like, all right, like once we have everything, like let's just keep it, all together because, there are certain times that you're going to need to, have these things. And
Well, like
it's
if
important.
you like me, you need a DD 214 for the military.
Right.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
want anything at all.
Right.
And if you don't
Right.
have the DD 214,
Right. You can't. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
you can't get it.
Yeah.
No, and I think, unfortunately in these emergency situations, you're going to have to fill out so much paperwork and all this stuff. And the last thing you're going to want to need, like have to do is like, God, now I have to like get a new social security card. Like,
Yeah,
and that,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like adding like this whole list of,
Yeah.
horrible
But
things
just
that you're.
Very
the
long
mental
list.
health end of it, it's just,
Yeah.
I've been reading more. What
Yeah, I mean,
the,
I
the
feel for
trauma
Yeah.
of it
Of
and
course.
how it's going to impact everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and it's
You're
just so
starting
sad.
all over again.
All over.
with nothing.
And that's why, guys, it's just like,
Yeah, emergency.
it's
yeah.
the preparedness. We always say
prepared.
this on the show in so many aspects of your life. It always comes down to preparedness and
Yeah.
and proactive thinking, which is obviously easier said than
Yeah.
done. But it's just unfortunately when tragedies like this happen, it hopefully it triggers people to say, okay, like let me just kind of think
Yeah.
about plans for myself
And do it if you do it for yourself, because if your children are going to have to do it, you had that question a couple of weeks ago, Otto. Should you start
Right.
giving things away ahead of time. Should
Yeah,
you
right.
start, really downsizing and down and out? But I
I
think
can't tell
that's
you
really
that I've
helpful.
done it.
No, but
I have a
it's
list
it's a good
I'm
working on.
Yeah.
But that's part of the prepared process, right? So
Yeah.
you
I
can't,
mean,
Yeah.
this stuff
do it
all
all.
takes time.
Right. That's
Let
why
me tell
you
you,
start
because
a
I
little bit
got
at a
into
time.
my saga of, the new year starts, and I'm always trying to like do some kind of new
Yeah.
downsizing and decluttering and whatnot. So like I've been on this process of my, photographs.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
up until social media times, which I'll say I probably got on like about 2007, all my pictures are kind of in that online realm, which was great. But at that same time, so that made it easier for those dates because
Right.
I was also printing out like every
Everything.
photo, like
Yeah.
not even just monumental. It was like every photo.
Yeah.
And I had these things called yearbooks that only like just took up space in my, my spare room. Then I had the things that were pre that time. And this is just mine. This isn't even talking about the photos that my mom has of me from Chuck, because that I did already.
Yeah.
But mine, I went through and, it's a process, right? So there were certain things and I love a photo because my photo albums, there's so much that went into it, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
just like throwing pictures in
Right.
an album. So
Yeah.
it was a tough thing. So,
Right.
but there was a lot of moments. And I have to say, because I was laughing in my house, he's like, I can help you. I said, I need to be left alone.
Right.
I need to be left alone. I need to like work through
Right.
work through this.
Right.
But it was like, I felt so good. I got it done.
Yeah.
And now I have a huge like
Well,
space
that's a
left. in my head.
whole another
But
area.
We're going to have to
Yeah,
jump
okay.
right back in after we take a break. After the break, Paula, Otto, and I will continue talking about what's going on in life and in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. We'll jump right back into what's going on around the town, the world, everything. Go ahead,
Photos and
Otto.
videos.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
In the modern world, you have more photos than you can ever manage. All right.
Yeah.
So I just decided during this process that I am not going to get involved with anything current because they have 850
Yeah.
between the whole family. They got
It's a good idea.
80,000
Right.
copies of these
I know.
pictures.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what I have done
like
is
that.
I've put
The pre.
all the pictures that were like from 20 years back into folders based on families, events, whatever.
Otto, you're
it all takes time.
It's just so
And
lovely.
you can do these things when you retire, semi-retire.
Right.
So you're
right,
trying to
right.
to calm me down. He's like,
So
you,
I put them
you retired.
in
She's
the-
not
and-
eligible yet, for the record.
Just recently, and there's old movies when movies didn't have sound.
Yeah.
All right. Movies when I visited Germany and I saw the school my father went to,
Yeah.
which I put in a video, and the port my father and mother left from in
Wow.
Germany,
Yeah.
pictures of it, not pictures, videos.
Right.
And I actually documented all of this
So it's
uh,
amazing. It's
Right.
incredible.
in like a directory.
Mhm.
All right.
Love it.
And it's on Google Photos in albums, and it's on external hard drive. It's on my computer, and
Wow.
it's in the cloud,
Wow.
digitized. All right.
Talking my language,
Wow.
Otto.
Well, I mean,
just-
I'm talking
It's
the old
great.
black and white.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
no,
I know,
so
yeah.
incredibly special.
People don't even know who
yeah,
they
who
are.
they are.
Yeah.
Right.
I happen to still know a lot of them,
Yeah.
and I did that.
Yeah.
Why? Because again, it goes back to I didn't get a lot of that.
Yeah.
I have a picture
Yeah.
of my grandmother,
Yeah.
a black and white,
Yep.
which needs work.
Yeah.
So someday they don't care now. I know they don't.
Right.
It's when you.
Oh,
no, they don't.
you will. No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah,
And
but
their
when
children.
I even wrote that
Absolutely.
in my hodgepodge. I said,
Yeah.
you don't really care now,
Right. But
but
you
someday
absolutely.
when you're retired and you're pondering
Yeah.
what your life
Yeah.
was all
Yeah,
about,
it's so special.
you're gonna care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's such a
maybe
gift. It
Their
really is.
kids might care.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We're going to be Deborah Marks is working on developing a life review program, which can be along the lines of like a support group
Mhm.
or a social type group.
Hmm.
But life review is a very, very interesting process
Mhm.
to go through. And what life review does is it talks you through the different phases of life. And for different people, some phases were much happier
Mhm.
than others.
Right.
But it's something that you can start with the group, and then she's can work individually with people. And having those pictures, what I'm just thinking when you were talking, Otto, having those pictures of your grandparents,
Mhm.
of your whoever you have that you may not even thought about.
Right.
And for most of our residents, those are black and white pictures, or those are real photographs. They're nothing that's
Yeah, right. There's no
yeah,
digital.
yeah. And
Mm.
because I know, looking through my
It might
mother's
be a
old
slide.
pictures, like, and you would look at a picture, and unless something was written on the back,
Mhm.
Right.
you'd be like, who
Who
is
is this?
this? Where did they
Yeah.
come from? And
Yeah.
not everyone grew up and just stayed.
Yeah.
People moved all over
Yeah.
the place. So
I-
I just, this life review idea, I
Well-
love it. I love that she's
Yeah,
we're
because it has so
developing
many. It's
that.
so
Who,
therapeutic in
how
so
are
many
you going
ways.
to do that? Like, what's the
Well-
ultimate?
Well, we're
And
looking.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking for
where do
the
you want it to
spring.
go? Like I'm saying.
It's not so much where you want to go. It's to help
Yeah,
somebody.
it's like a therapeutic program.
I don't want to
really,
say towards the end of life. It's not just about that, but it's really thinking about your life as a whole.
Do you
Yeah.
want
you
to
know,
apply it to anything?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Just
It's
It's just a
verbalize.
type of
own-
social group. Yeah,
It's
social
also
support.
a good brain
Yeah, right.
activity to think back and think of different, because we all, every decade there's something new in your
Mhm.
life, and new people and new things and new events, and to go back, and because you can go back and look at, this was a hard point, how did I get through
Mhm.
that? This was so great, I loved this, but and it's just to get people talking about it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I
because it's
think
in the
it's,
same wheelhouse of like
it's
journaling
it's
and
very
like
interesting.
these
I think
programs
it's
that we've
great.
done.
It's very interesting.
This hodgepodge thing that I do is broken down.
It's so
like
great.
you
I
described.
actually have a
Yeah,
copy of the
yeah.
hodgepodge. I'm
Well,
very
it
fortunate.
talks
Yes.
about things that you've gone through in your life, and I look back in my life, and I realize how fortunate I was living where I live.
Yeah, yeah,
I was forced to go out in the street and play,
yeah, yes,
and found out I wasn't bad at some of this stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And that's good for your mental attitude.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
You know,
No, and I
yes.
think it's so important to, because we talk about this all the time, Paul and I, is, when you're in something, you're just like, you're going, you're in it,
You're
and you're
just
not like,
doing,
you're not like
right.
reflecting, and I'll touch upon, because this time of year, I always put together our end of the year report, right? Where I
Yeah.
capture all the statistics and
It's amazing.
really have time to sit down and look at every program and, just the impact it had. So you get that moment. And I think that, it's a similar kind of thing, because, you very rarely get, because when you're in it, you're not like, oh, let me analyze, you don't have
Right.
that luxury, so when you do look back, and I think you're right, you could learn, oh my God, I was stronger than I believed,
Right.
and like, I worried about this. Why did I spend so much
Right.
time worrying about this? It wasn't even
And
worth
it's like
it.
looking
It's
for
all
meaning.
yes,
Like,
right.
what did my life mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean? Did I
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
good? Did I
Mhm.
leave something important?
Right.
And to be able to stop and think about it. And initially, it's like a small group, but it's a very
Yeah.
interesting process
well,
to go through.
like you talk, like you two are doing work that's valuable,
Mhm.
in my opinion. All right. And I look back in my life, and I had a reasonably successful
Yeah.
business career, but in the big picture, it doesn't mean a damn thing. It just means
Well,
I
it
had,
did-
I was able to provide for my family because
Well,
I had a
that's
good
big.
career.
Yeah.
I did stuff I liked to do,
Yeah. Well, that
Good.
itself
but it
is a
didn't
win.
really. Maybe I created some jobs because I sold stuff,
Mhm.
and I always
But
thought
then your
about that.
Yeah, but that's
children
fine,
had
right.
children who became social, like you, it's
Yeah,
like,
well, that's
throwing a
true.
pebble,
Yeah, that's
in
where
a
I'm
Yeah.
going
pond.
with this. Is
It's
that
everything
the
else.
business part of it was one thing.
Right.
I
That
contributed.
supported.
Maybe I got a big order, and
Right.
it maybe created 30
Yeah.
jobs
Mhm.
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
all right?
You also don't know sometimes.
But
how
that
you-
was the business part. Then the other part of it really is, how do you contribute if you have fortunate enough to have a family?
Right.
Did you contribute in a positive way to your family?
Right. Right.
Or were you abusive?
Right.
Or
Right. And I
uh,
think for some people in this process, it helps them work out
it's healing.
things
Yeah,
that
like
may have been
right.
more difficult, like in their younger
Yes.
years or whatever. It
No, it
may
has like
be.
a therapeutic nature.
Right,
There's so many
right.
benefits.
And
to
when you
it.
look at it in the here and now, you can maybe look at it a little bit differently, because people can carry things decades, and never really get to that
Right.
point of, this can get resolved. But
to-
it's very,
well, today happens to be the day I got married to my first wife, 65
Oh,
years
happy
ago.
anniversary.
65
yes,
years
ago.
And
Wow.
we only made 17 because
Yeah.
she died.
Yes.
But that
Sure,
looking back on
yeah.
that, that's a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's a long time.
And unfortunately for her, she didn't get
Yeah.
any.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have gratitude that I got
Yeah.
what I got
Yes.
over that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, what I
Right.
saw in those years.
Right.
You know,
Right. But for some people, it could be, unresolved grief that happened
Yeah.
a very
Right.
long time ago
Right.
that, and, it's just a chance to stop and think about things in a different way.
Yeah.
That, it's just another tool.
and this,
But the more it's funny, I had been reading about it, and at the end of last year, Deborah came to me, wanted to talk for a minute. I'm like, sure, let's talk. And she's like, I've been thinking about starting this new group, because at the end of the year, we always kind of say we'd love everyone to find one new thing if we can do it, so we can bring new things out to the residents. And she brought this up, and I said, oh my gosh, Deborah, I had just printed, I think it was an article from the New York Times, and with a lot of resource information. So I gave it to her, and she's getting a book, some books, how to do it. And she's all excited about it.
who is this?
Deborah
of our
Marks,
social
one of our
workers.
social
Deborah
work,
Marks?
yeah,
Yeah.
one of our social workers. And
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
to develop it, read it, let's take a look. And then, then it's going to be, do we want to have a once a month meeting? Do we want to do individual, but it's, it's nice.
Well, I think there's a lot, looking from my point
Yeah.
here, to be said for what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah.
One is not bad. Some people don't like to share, but others
Yeah.
really
To-
would love
like
an
to talk about
opportunity
themselves.
to share that with peers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
No, because that's what we always
Yes.
laugh, on this show. And I know my grandpa, his career, right, as a photographer was his identity. That's who he was, forever. So all he ever wanted to do was talk about those times. And I think that that's what you're saying, to get that audience, especially as you're older and people might not want to they forget that, because we laugh, because my grandpa be like, he had a whole life before he was a grandpa. And you say that too, like, I
Right.
was,
Right.
I was your age at one time,
Yeah.
crazy you might believe, and I think it's, so to have these kind of forums where you're able to do that. And even on this show, we've interviewed people, when we would interview veterans, and I remember, and their family would be like, oh my God, I never even knew this about my
Right.
dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you have that kind of space in that forum to be able to
Well, we had that
vocalize
man,
those
the
things.
guy on where him and I got off onto a whole tangent
Mhm.
about going to Brooklyn Dodger
Mhm.
games. And,
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's great. But we used to use it in when I worked in a nursing home, was a nursing home social worker, like residents that, and usually it was people that didn't get a lot of visitors. So we would use life review as a tool
Mhm.
to just start to make them feel like they're relevant. We care about them. Like basic. Do you remember your first day of kindergarten? What was it like?
Mhm.
Where did you? The most basic questions, and you could get
It would
people
spring right into
talking.
like a whole thing, right?
And it could be a person that never just sat
Yeah.
alone or didn't really interact much. But when you asked to elicit those
That's
responses,
an interesting
Yeah.
thing. I
It-
think
it
it
was
could
like-
be fun.
yeah,
Mhm.
and
know?
people, and it's just, you just need the little, like the moderation, just little bits of conversation,
Yeah.
and then, but you're also trying to build a trusting relationship with somebody. So that was the goal there.
Actually,
but,
you know what you're saying is a thing that if you're sitting with your family around the table,
yeah,
there's age differences, of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
But then there are things like you said. Do you remember your first day in school?
right.
What
Right.
did you-
Everyone could have
Right,
an
right.
experience.
I
Yes.
don't know if I remember. You know,
I don't know if I remember the exact date
Yeah.
of
I
kindergarten.
remember my teacher,
I remember
Mrs.
kindergarten.
Swoboda.
Yeah,
Wow,
see?
impressive.
There
See,
you
I
go.
couldn't even tell you my teacher's name.
You couldn't?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
for
for kindergarten.
kindergarten?
No, I wouldn't even know.
Oh, Mrs. Thompson would be upset.
Yeah.
I think I had a sister Mary something, but I'm
Yeah.
not,
Can I
I'm
tell
not-
you what I
I'm not
remember about
exactly sure what
kindergarten?
came after the
The
Mary.
one thing I do remember about kindergarten, and y'all laugh, I remember I had these pearl earrings that I was given, and I remember
Kristina,
thinking I was
that's
so
perfect.
close.
But that's your story. I would love to hear that.
Believe it or not, the school I went to was an old
She
wood
remembers the fashion.
Right. of
I can tell you what
course.
outfit I wore.
PS 60, which was a wooden school.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
And about 4 years after I went there, they knocked it down and made
Yeah.
a brick school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, it's
Yeah.
questions like that, and I think that anyone listening to like these, we always say, how do you connect with people of your family or friend, and I think that these are good things, and there's so many questions because I've even like looked it up online, these icebreaker kind of question things, and I think that it's a good thing to kind of do with
Yeah.
your Oh, Dan's coming in.
You know.
Dan's
Okay.
coming in.
So the point being is, what I like about this conversation is, I think it's my true belief.
Mhm.
Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
And you'll say to somebody, tell me your story. And they'll go, well,
I
I
don't
don't really
have
have one.
one.
it, right.
And then you just ask them a few questions like
Yeah.
you do.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I think that's great working with
Yeah,
older
yeah,
people
people.
because, like I said, you may not remember I remember Mrs. Thompson,
Mhm.
Mrs. O'Brien, Mrs. Engelhart, Mrs. Bieber. I remember every
Mrs.
teacher,
Flynn.
almost everyone I've ever had,
Mhm.
except high school, where it starts to get a little
Yeah,
muddled. We
yeah.
have 5 of them a day.
Yeah.
It's probably too
Yeah.
messed up. then.
Yeah, but I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And what I love, and when we were doing the veterans things, get me anybody, pull somebody off the street,
Yeah,
sit them in that
yep,
seat and say,
absolutely.
tell
Absolutely.
me your story.
Yeah.
And they'll go,
Right.
well, I really, and then you just, a few pointed
Yeah.
questions, and
Right.
believe me, they have a story.
Yeah,
Right.
And
I
there's at least
agree.
one in there that's going to make you go
Right.
cry
God,
or
yeah, right,
laugh or,
Right. Right.
or-
And you know, those stories, like in my world, luckily, don't have to be about combat either. They can be about
Camaraderie.
Life,
that
yeah.
goes on.
Friendships. Right.
and you said something very pointed before. You had a successful business career. You're not sure what you did.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. I have a sister like that who always
Mhm.
says, Danny, I don't know if I've ever did. Yes, you have.
Yeah.
You raised
Right.
4 kids.
Yeah.
Right.
2 of them are incredible people.
Mhm.
You said one of your daughters is a
I like that
social
you said, I like
worker.
that you said 2 of them.
Granddaughter.
Like,
No, they're all incredible people.
No.
No, they're all incredible people. But I said 2 of them
Yeah.
are doing this and 2
Yeah.
of them are doing that.
yeah,
And,
right.
it doesn't matter what they're doing.
Right,
They're
right,
doing.
right.
Yeah.
They're
You know,
here.
they
Yeah.
would never have had that
I
opportunity.
know. And Otto look at you. I
And-
don't even know how Otto could even question like his contribution to the world. You
and I
know,
know-
Well,
and I-
Otto.
I'm saying
Yeah.
I think what happens as you move along is that you realize your business portion of it
Yeah.
is really less
Right.
than the rest.
When you think you're
Oh,
young, you
sure.
have to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at your career,
Yeah.
you say, okay, I did that because I had to
Mhm.
raise my family, I had to make
yeah,
some
Yeah,
money.
and
yeah.
I
But
did.
it- but-
I did
But you
okay.
can-
But you,
all
but, you
Yeah.
made, but you made a point that you probably don't realize. I always like to go back to that silly movie by Frank Capra, It's a Wonderful Life. You have no idea what
Yeah,
your
you
effect on
don't,
others
right.
is.
And I'm a firm
Like you
believer
said,
in it.
if you
Yeah.
got a big contract and you created 30 jobs,
Mhm.
those are 30 people
Yeah.
who could raise their family,
Yep.
do their job. I mean, these are the kinds of things that most people, if they really thought about the layers of their life,
Right.
Mhm.
That's
would
a
end
good,
up would say to themselves, "Wow,
Yeah.
I
Right.
did
And-
do
and-
that.
and
I did
that's
have an
like-
effect."
I
that's
think
life
that's
review.
that's a good
Yeah.
point. I do look back in my life and think I did contribute to people's lives in a positive way, because I've had people come to me like you two
Yeah.
do in your world
Mhm.
and say, you really taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe that what I taught them later in their life made them more successful.
Of course.
and
You don't
better
even know the effect. And
to,
I'm such a
uh,
believer in
Yeah.
that.
contribute to their
And-
family.
But the thing is, it's
Or
oftentimes,
whatever.
and this is, I don't want to be negative here, but we admire noble professions
Yep.
like firemen,
Yeah.
the guys who run at the fire, the
Doctors. Yeah.
police,
Yeah.
social workers, medicine doctors. But you know what? They couldn't exist without the businessmen
Yeah,
Right.
right.
and,
it
the,
all,
yes,
yes,
and,
of
and the
course.
trash collector and
Mhm.
the kid who work, the
Food,
kids who work at
Yeah.
the camp
Table.
every
It
day
all
to take care
plays
of your
its
kids.
part. in
Farmers
it.
who grow our
It's
food.
all, we're all
Well,
integrated here.
yeah.
It's all,
I
it all
always
means
tell
something.
people my father was a professional milkman.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
He was 45 years working for a milk company.
Mhm.
And I went with him a few times. Near the end, he needed help delivering the milk
Mhm.
Right.
during the holidays. He had a big load, and his white collar son would go and help him deliver milk. Everywhere he went,
They knew
he
him and
was
just
He
had
greeted
was
like a
beloved.
king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
You,
right.
your milk was at your
Yeah.
door.
But do you
Your
Well,
milk
no,
you
he
needed
delivered to
fill-
stores
Yeah.
and schools
okay.
and hospitals.
Yeah, but even so, do you realize how many children he raised
Right.
through his action?
Yeah. Right.
Right.
He helped raise those kids because
Yeah.
those kids needed the milk.
Yeah.
It's all,
It's
we're all
all
connected.
connected.
Yeah.
That's
We're
right.
all
We
connected.
can tell it's at the
And
end of
that's
it.
but
why-
I use that word professional with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
All right. You could
Yeah.
be a professional janitor.
Mhm.
You could
Exactly.
be-
Yeah.
as-
Just being good
if
at
you
what
do
you
the
do.
very best
Yeah.
you can
Doing right.
at that job, you're
Well,
a pro as far
Yeah,
as
we
I'm concerned.
the definition of professional is someone who does something and gets paid for it
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
do it for a living.
Exactly.
And that's everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you think about it. Unfortunately, we've created that, oh, it just means a doctor, it just means
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lawyer.
Right.
Well, we have
No.
people who look down,
And who look down on
all
it.
right,
Yeah.
because it makes them feel better. And sorry for them.
No,
you know.
I do feel sorry for
Yeah.
them. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
But the other part with life review, once you get there, as you move forward with it, then the next part of it is, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah.
So you remember your
You're
first day of
connecting it to- right, you're
kindergarten? Were
connecting
you
it to those
scared that
emotions.
day? Were you so happy to get, so then you can start talking a little bit more about feelings, which is part of the process.
Well, I
you wanna
guys could
get
also
to.
in my life, I could rattle off all 40 years of my birthday parties. So I could do that, no sweat, guys.
God bless
I
her,
can no
right.
sweat. I got that actually on a spreadsheet, Otto.
Plus-
You'd like that.
Plus 400 other parties.
Right.
But after the break, Paul, Otto, and I will continue talking about life, the world, and the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence, and you talk of the town on LIU Public Radio. And we're going to jump right back in to all things going on everywhere.
Yes.
We're
All in
we're
life.
worldwide. Yeah, we're just like we're like universe. We're out there. Well, what I will proudly dive into, because this certainly goes into the realm of
Oh, yeah.
the difference people
Well, I
make.
mean,
and
know,
stuff.
this is relevant to the town because people are what make up this town.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more positive stuff that
Mhm.
people can do for themselves and
Yep.
for the town, if you
Better is
will.
everybody.
How do
Yep.
you do better? I mean, just be decent.
Yeah, it's
Right,
like
yeah.
just do better,
kind.
right?
Yeah.
But I want to, and speaking of wonderful things, so I had mentioned that I put together our end of the year report of Project Independence, and
It's amazing.
they're just
Oh.
incredible, and I would just love to go through some of the little highlights of it, because in 2024 there were 27,750 service requests. So that's what comes into the 311 call center. So those were just the calls alone. So 27,750 that were assigned to different staff members, and that just one service request is even more, because one service request, we always say, I can call and say I need gutter cleaning, and then all of a sudden a social worker will meet with that person, and then it's I need help getting groceries, I need help with transportation, it's so many other things they're connected to. So just want to put that in perspective.
I would like to point out that 27,000 calls are handled by very few people.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
true.
It's not like a bureaucracy
Very
that's
few.
overloaded with people. So A plus
And
Well,
get
thank you, my
answered
friend.
you two and
very quickly.
your whole team.
Well, thank
Yes.
you. And what's even more incredible is that townwide receives 52,421. So that's the entire town, which means that Project Independence alone gets 53% of all the calls that come in for everything are going to Project Independence, which, I've been doing this report for many, many years now. And of course I save them all because, I love to compare. And it just keeps going up, that number. For a while it was like, 40, 30%,
Yeah.
40%. And then when I did it this year and I said 53%, my gosh. But so that's a testament really to the whole team and everyone who, there you go, Otto, you could look at it, the right hot off the press. And since 2020, there's been a 30.3% increase in Project Independence SRs, which is just incredible.
Yeah. Feels like
And well, I can certainly vouch for
it.
that.
Oh my God.
And since inception, so in 2009, when the call center really started clocking all these things, Project Independence has received 375,095 requests, which is just seeing that number in hard copy is just incredible. And at the end of 2024, there was 17,498 members that are a
Members.
part of it. And those are members that have just signed up. There's even people out there who are not
Right.
utilizing the program, using the membership part of the program. So just incredible. And then of course, our social work and nursing who are, out, boots on the ground, really, making these connections. I just have to give them a special shout out, because they, in 2024, provided 35,514 units of service. So that's anything from, blood pressure screenings, counseling, or information and referral, any kind of assessments, and healthcare coordination. I mean, it's endless, the services that they provide. And they provided this to 2,236 unduplicated individuals.
That's my favorite number.
Which is just, an unduplicated individual, is a number that is just, they could have used the program multiple times, but we're just trying to account for them, one time to get that number. So that one person could have, received, is part of that 35,000 units of service, which is just so incredible.
But one of our staff members touched the lives
Yeah.
of those
right, exactly.
2,000. What's the number? 2,000.
It was 2,236
people
Yep.
Came into contact with Project Independence nurses or social workers.
So it's just
great.
a real,
That's in 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year, one
And
long year. Yeah.
Did we go past the new members yet? I love
Yeah.
that
So
number
so the
too.
new members, it was 584, I believe. 585
I love
joined
that.
in.
That's one of my favorite numbers.
And
too.
and already in 2025, we've had, I think there's been like close to like 100 people who have already, it was something, because
If
when I
it goes
quickly
out,
looked and I was like, oh my gosh, so it's really great, that number keeps growing. Obviously, people keep turning 60, and hopefully we're getting the word out about our program. And back to the social workers and nurses, they provided so many different types of support groups and social groups, everything from social discussion, blankets of love, men's group, Golden Hearts bingo and blood pressure screenings. We have a heart-to-heart bingo and blood pressure. There was a puzzle time. There was bridge. There was brain games. There was a kindness rocks group. And what I love about it is that they really listen to their constituents and see what the need is. And as much as like a lot of things could be considered social on paper, it has such a support factor to it. So it's a lot of overlapping of these things. You might think, oh my God, this is fun, I'm playing bingo, but now you're getting connection with your social worker and nurse, which is it's just so much more than that. And I think what I like is the movement of, because I'm a firm believer in like having a little fun, is so important for your mental and physical health. So just shout out to them, just absolute angels of Project Independence, and just really, really a special program. Of course, our transportation program is just off the charts as well. 31,602 rides were provided to residents in 2024. 75% of those are for medical transportation, and 25% were for food shopping. There was 210 new riders. And since inception of that program, 442,298 rides have been provided.
Could have probably driven from here to Australia.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, you think about, I remember when the transportation program, came about, and it was because of these surveys that we had sent out, and that was such a need. And obviously transportation for all things, but really for food shopping and medical were like the number one concerns. And, just to see that, this transportation program, like, and especially people who like are going for dialysis or,
who use it 3 times a week.
Who like, this is really a lifeline for them, to get to and from, and to be able to take a taxi cab to these places, I think is just, just such a lovely
obvious
aspect
fact of life is that as people get older, they lose their ability or they're not allowed to drive.
Right.
And so
and become more isolated
Yeah.
because of that. And
marooned.
And the average number of rides per month were 2,646. And what was interesting is that this year in October, there was a record amount, which was 3,138 rides that month. And that's a
crazy.
shout out I will give to Sherry
Sherry,
Baton, who is our mobility manager, who is,
Go
our
Sherry.
travel agent
Yes.
of the Town of North Hempstead. Because, on top, these are just, the concrete rides. This is not accounting for, all the calls that Sherry gets, and
Sherry,
one-on-one
Sherry could
kind
be a
of,
social worker too.
Yeah, and
she gets
and-
on
and-
the phone
and the one-on-one,
so much support.
contact that, she, will, because, obviously people need, rides to a social thing or something that's not necessarily covered by the program, but she can sit and say, listen, this is the cheapest way, and it's really having that at your fingertips, I think, is such a blessing of North Hempstead. And, as Paula said too, the connections that everyone has, you can't put into concrete,
Right. Yeah.
because it's just happening. Right.
Yeah.
And like, so Sherry will get a call, and I can't tell, I mean, at least, close to once a day. There's
Easily, yeah.
something that's being referred to a social worker and saying, hey, Mrs. Smith called for transportation, but she needs a lot of help with A, B, C, and D.
Mhm.
A social worker and nurse could help out.
Mhm.
So there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and being able to do these reports, I'm able to shed light. But it's like a little glimpse. It's not even getting to show everything
Yeah,
else that
yeah.
goes in.
And
So
Sherry has to do
yeah.
an extensive
Mhm.
report, a quarterly report, to keep our grant.
Right.
We have a huge grant for our transportation program, but Sherry has to collect a lot of
Mhm.
data and keep it. We recently had an audit the end of last year, and we did very, very well. But it's her job to keep that to do that report
How many
quarterly.
taxi companies are
Two.
Two.
Two?
Mhm.
Can we use names or?
Yeah.
Oh,
There,
yeah,
so there,
yeah.
it's Taxi Hispana.
No,
what's-
All Island.
Oh, Island, excuse me,
And Deluxe.
and Deluxe.
Yeah.
Yes,
And who?
Deluxe.
Deluxe
Washington.
Transportation. Yeah,
Right.
they've been partners with it for many years, and
So
Um,
they're gaining, but they also deserve
Yes,
credit
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for being good
Mhm.
partners.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I also want to remind people, so obviously the medical transportation program is, largely just for town facilities. But also throughout the program, there's transportation that's provided to Memorial Sloan Kettering in Uniondale, St. Francis de Matta Center in Greenvale, Newmac in East Meadow, Northwell's LIJ campus, which borders, Queens, Garden City providers, which is just, that in itself, I think is just so incredible because, we listen to the constituents who have a lot of doctors in those places, and we're able
Yeah.
to, help the most people get to where they need to go. And on top of that, I mean, we have bus transportation that's taking these senior groups to their
Yeah.
meetings and
Yeah.
stuff. So there's so many layers to that program that I think it's very important
So
to
bottom
shed
line, if
light
you
on.
need a ride of some kind, call.
Yeah, call
Day ahead,
311.
yeah.
311.
Absolutely. And you should always call. And even if it's something that we don't cover, as I said, Sherry will
We
call
do
you
call
back,
back,
and,
yeah.
and help get you connected to it.
Yeah.
Now, they're not free calls, but they're very low price
So
calls.
food shopping is free.
Free.
Right.
Food
Yeah.
shopping's
Okay.
totally free.
Twice a week.
And medical shopping is discounted.
Right.
Which is steeply discounted.
Yeah.
Which is just very important.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and sometimes too, what I think is, people get a call and Sherry will say, like, you could use Able Ride,
Right.
so then
And
that's a
Sherry will start the
conversation, right?
application, or the social
Right.
workers will do it with
So
them
it's
as well.
it's another
They might
layer
not know
of
it
it.
exists.
So if
Right.
you just want some more information, certainly call to get
Yeah.
it. And then of course we have our Neighbors Helping Neighbors program that really was a thing during COVID, but it's
Yeah.
still going strong, in 2024 because we realize, listen, obviously you're isolated. We're extremely isolated during
Yeah.
COVID, but that still doesn't take away from the baseline isolation that a lot
Yeah.
of seniors feel and disconnectedness. So there's 61 matches to date that have been made for that program. And a shout out to Andrea Taylor, one of our
Yeah.
social workers who oversees that.
The senior social.
And then of course we have our exercise program, which is just so huge. There's yoga, chair yoga, tai chi, chair fitness, gentle fitness, dance fitness, line dancing, low impact aerobics, balance,
all free.
all
No cost.
free, which is just, I mean, incredible.
Other
And on top of
townships charge.
these in-person programs, there's also, it's aired on North Hempstead TV and on the YouTube channel. And I went through, which so I could vouch for this number. There was over 12,000 views of all these classes,
Really?
and that's just electronically, which is
Yeah, we got a couple
incredible.
calls the other day after the snow
I know.
that
That
North
it was
Hempstead,
down,
we couldn't
yes.
find yoga on
Yes,
North,
yes.
and it, so we got in touch with the
No, it's
station,
such a wonderful.
and he said there was a
resource.
glitch
Yeah.
because of the storm, but that it's up and running.
And
But
there
they
was
were watching.
250 seniors participated in the in-class in-person classes too. So shout out to Danielle who's on
Yeah.
our staff handling that. I mean, there's really such a wonderful team that's
Yeah.
providing all these services. And of course, on top of all the social work, direct services, their social and recreational programs, over 150 people participated in all these different groups. We have our advisory committees, which have about
Yay,
40 to
Otto.
50 people every week that come in, both virtually and in person. These special little angels of Project Independence, the Blankets of Love group,
Ugh.
donated 291 blankets, 80 hats,
Crazy.
22 shawls and scarves to 20 different organizations and people in need.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
Which is incredible. You
And
know,
they have so much fun.
they have
They
a
have so much
blast.
fun.
They're
It's
walking.
the best day.
It is.
Tuesday afternoons, they're all coming in
You
happy.
and this year they've already donated. They've already because
Yeah.
I keep a
Was it
count
like
as it
100?
goes.
It was a
Yeah,
high
it was
number.
like
Yeah.
100 something, and on top of that, they gave stuffed animals. You know, so they
Oh, yeah.
always like kind of like
Yeah.
depending on what the organization is that they're donating to, do that. And then quickly, we of course have our home maintenance programs, our help at home program with our partnership with TRI that does, light assistance around the house, which is like light window cleaning, moving heavy items, replacing batteries, light bulbs, gutter cleaning, light yard work, minimal, floor care. 110 constituents received assistance for that program in 2024. And since we started in 2010, 1,755 constituents use that program. So it's incredible. And then, of course, we have our Rebuilding Together Long Island program, which is an income-based program, but it's all volunteers who, do grab bars, railing, some weatherization, and some various repairs around the house. 37 constituents received these.
I'm
over there.
surprised it's not more, to be honest
Yeah.
about it, but I think there's a reluctance somehow that people don't want to get help.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it
But
is.
rebuilding it is means
Yeah, it
tested
is means
also.
right. So that
I mean,
okay.
it's a little bit
Right,
more
it's a little
sliding
bit.
scale, but
Yeah.
it
The help at
we
home
do have to
program
evaluate.
That's totally free.
That's
Yes,
totally
that's totally free.
yeah.
That doesn't matter how much. you
Yes, no, it does not. You
No.
could only use it 3
Right.
times a year, though.
But the Rebuilding Together Long Island, that's
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then there's community education chats. Over 1,200 constituents participate in that, and of course our fabulous radio show. There in
Yay.
in 2024 there was over since it counts more now, but since we started in 2011, there was over 1,191 different non-repeat interview segments.
Wow.
Which I know. Gosh, it's like you see that and you're like, oh my god,
it
who are all
says
these guests?
Right.
I'm
Right.
tired.
Well, I know. It did. You actually
I thought
get
it was
there.
the 14th anniversary.
Well, it's 2014. Oh, you're
Oh.
right. You're actually right. We celebrated. No, we're in the 14th year. It was the 13th anniversary. We're in the 14th year.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
This is
And then, of
2024.
course, the best success of 2024 was coming back in studio, our newly renovated studio
Yay.
at LIU Post Campus. So it just was fun to get back there. We started podcasting our interviews in 2024. So there was a lot of wonderful highlights for our show. And then 2025, we've been nominated for numerous things, but stay tuned for that. And of course, we have our Project Independence newsletters. 5,584 people have signed up to be on our email
E-news, right,
newsletter, which
every
is
month.
huge. So that gets sent out every month. Our Pioneer newsletter is a hard copy that gets mailed out twice a year, and that was mailed over to 64,900 households, which is incredible. And then we have, of course, our partners with St. Francis. They served over 156 people. And our Smart Van, which is our technology assistance, helped over 60 residents. Our Project Grass program, which is a caregiver grandparent respite program, helps 22 grandparents. And I just really want to quickly just shed some light on that program too, because reading what they did for those grandparents and the assistance they've helped them, kind of be liaisons with school districts for those grandparents and help them with technology things and food insecurity and just, some self-care for themselves is just really incredible. And I'd love to have them on the show to talk about everything because it's such a wonderful organization. And then EAC, our respite program for caregivers, helped over 14 clients in 2024. Of course, we partnered with the Story Around Memory Poetry workshops that helped over 9 seniors participate in these workshops. And it's just to hear just the impact that it made in the lives of people and the difference. And we're always looking for new programs. It's just exciting to kind of recap 2024 and go into 2025 with new information and new programs that will be coming out. And there's already a lot
Not
of
just
stuff.
the name Project
Right,
Independence.
exactly.
Right.
It impacts people.
I know. I'm like, I need to take a nap from
Yeah.
just reading the report alone.
Yeah.
So that
You
I
have
have
to see Kristina
just-
writing this report. It's so much
Yeah.
fun to watch her. She's just covered in papers.
Yes. So, of course, a
Well,
lot to come up in
take you a little
2025.
while
So
to
call
do this.
311
Oh,
or
boy.
516-869-6311 to get information about any of our programs or events. I want to thank everyone for listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town. I'd like to thank Paula and Otto for another great show. Project Independence and You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio, and a special thank you to Dan Cox, who actually joined us, today. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.